out here in Vancouver. Well, outside Vancouver, I should say. Worked this week, had a relatively easy job. And now I got the weekend, or not the weekend, the afternoon to hang out before headed back to Alabama. It's quite a long flight. Gotta take 3 flights because I refuse to fly WestJet. So I'm flying Delta to Seattle, then to Atlanta, then to Huntsville. It's kind of a unreasonable thing, isn't it? But that's life. Headed to Turkey in like 5 days. Headed back, and I am thrilled. I don't know why this new camera is not tracking me. Well, need to work on the settings. Anyways, yeah. So, headed back to Turkey. I lived there for a little bit in my life, in my formative years, very formative years. And I'm taking some friends back, and I'm very, very, very excited. I think I might want to go back, move back to get my degree in history, master's, continue education. But we'll see what she tells me this time. I fell in love the first time I was there for 6 months, and I expect no less this time. Yeah, paid for it with miles, travel every week, that whole thing. Maybe I'll go over like costs and stuff at the end of the video. But now I'm walking down to a little waterfall. Vancouver. Life can be pretty fun sometimes, traveling around all the time. Can also be pretty depressing. Had one of those nights last night. The ups and downs of wandering around alone. Gotta remember to get out there. I'm gonna keep driving up in the mountains. I've been thinking a lot about God recently, especially since I'm going back to Turkey. Last time I was there, I kind of went under the pretext of God, being a Christian, and I haven't been one in a while. Go to the Episcopal Church every now and again. I enjoy it, but I don't know. I'm feeling maybe a renaissance, my mid-20s now. Take all the baggage that I'd thrown away, sort it a little bit. Don't throw away the good for the bad. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what Turkey says to me. up here on the rooftop, the Marriott Hotel in Istanbul. Hagia Sophia is just behind me, you can see it. So it's the Blue Mosque, obviously. Topkapi, Sari, the palace right behind me. You can see the tower. Been having stomach aches night. Couldn't sleep past like 3 a.m. so 6 a.m. now in the morning. Took some friends with me out to the old house where I used to live out here. Took the ferry into Kadikoy. That was the moment I fell in love with Istanbul 5 years ago, when the sun was setting on that ferry ride, peeking through the clouds. There is really something magical about this city. This place. Yeah. The morning call to prayer just started. And just ended, it sounds like. Nope. Seemed a bit short. I remember waking up my first night here at probably 6:15 a.m. to this. And just like this little area in Eminönü, just looking at it as the sun sets, it feels otherworldly to me in my American self. Hello from Norfolk, Virginia, and roughly 9 months in the future. My whole plan for this video is to try and tie in the religious angle, and I feel like I never really clarified what that all was, but the first time I moved to Turkey, when I was 18 or 19, I did so, I just stepped into the wind, under the pretext of being a missionary with my friend, Matt. We went there together with a friend that we had met at the church that we worked at to preach the gospel, the good news. That's what we were there to do. And I quickly learned in Turkey the biggest lesson I've ever learned, just that I didn't want to be a missionary, and that I really don't even believe in proselytization, and almost that I really barely even believe the type of Christianity that I was claiming to profess. So, yeah, I failed as a missionary. Turkey taught me that. And I wanted to go back so desperately to Turkey, I think as a bit of a redemption arc, to see this place that I fell in love with a pure heart, you know, not trying to convert people or whatever. And when I finally did go back, 9 months ago, I kind of wanted to bring some old Christian friends, but the type of Christian friends that I loved and respected, that held on to their faith in a way that I could be proud of, because I hadn't been a Christian for a while, and probably still aren't, depends on who asks. But I wanted to go back to this place that I was with some people that I respected, to see what it would be like to maybe have the good of Christianity and the good of Turkey together, because I feel like I didn't have that when I was there the first time. And the old Christian friends, they were my youth pastors, but funnily, you know, in the very evangelical way, they were in their early 20s teaching 17-year-olds how to live their lives, which is weirdly common in that realm of things. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify perhaps some things that might not have made sense with this film. I'm going back to Turkey in like a month and a half again, and I'm looking forward to it, as always. Anyways, back on the left coast, this time in Portland. I feel like maybe many people not from my part of the world, who didn't grow up down south, might find it strange and an unusual experience to grow up and want to be a missionary. But honestly, I have multiple experiences of meeting people at random, and then bonding over the fact that in our late adolescence to early adulthood, we all decided to become missionaries. I was working in New Orleans 2 years ago now, I think, and I met this girl on Bumble. Went on a random date. We got to talking, and she's like, "Yeah, I just got back from France." I'm like, "Oh, I had just been to France, so we bonded over that." Then I mentioned having lived in Turkey when I was a teenager, and she was like, "Why'd you do that?" And I like to make a bit of a joke of it when talking to strangers. You know, you wouldn't believe this, but was a missionary. And it's always fun because she looked at me and was like, "No way. I was in France as a missionary for the Catholic Church." I'm like, "No way." So we bonded over that, then made out a bit. It was fun. Used to have a group of friends randomly that would frequent the coffee shop in downtown Huntsville, Honest Coffee. And one of them, husband and wife, they met in the church, and she once was a missionary as well. Just randomly met this young adult woman. And yeah, it's not that uncommon, and I'm failing to think of more moments when that's happened, but it's a real thing down in the South where I'm from, to feel the conviction as a young adult to go out and share the gospel, because that was what we were told we should do, and a lot of us really, really deeply believed it. We went out and lived it, and then as adults kind of saw the reality of it. And from all my days working in churches and stuff, almost everyone that I'm not going to say liked, but most closely related to ended up going down almost exactly the same path that I did in their beliefs of God and faith and all that. This is a very pretty wood in Portland, outside Portland. Anyways, I just wanted to fill in some context if you're not familiar with the experiences of evangelical youth. We do the same thing that the Mormons do, pretty much. We just call it something else, I guess. Anyways. Hello from Toronto. The day before my two old Christian friends were scheduled to leave, I was reunited with another old friend. The one that I had moved to Turkey with 6 years ago at the time. We had remained close friends throughout transformations of our personal beliefs. There were times when we didn't speak much. There were times when we spoke for months on end. But the kinship of shared experience has always brought us back together, and the commonality of our shifting whims has always kept us together. All four of us were together for just one night. We went to a rooftop bar and dined and communed. It was lovely. And then it was just me and my old friend, Matt. Brother might be a more apt metaphor. It's a much more common analogy in the Arabic world, and I think we should maybe use it a bit more often, a bit more endearingly over here in the West. It connotates unconditionality. You don't forsake a brother on a whim. You might go months or years without speaking, but there's no length of time apart where pleasantries are ever necessary upon reuniting. And there are few sins irreconcilable, and few words not deserving of forgiveness. We attempted to visit a university that I have long considered attending, and still am, though it only allows students on campus with special key cards. However, and I really didn't have the desire with our one day together in Istanbul to figure out how to take a tour and all that. So instead, we opted to just sit at a little coffee shop right outside the entrance. And there were youthful adults everywhere talking about life and doing studies, and it was inspiring to me. It made me want to return back for my graduate and postgraduate degrees. Matt and I poetically waxed for like at least an hour at this coffee shop about how wonderful the feeling of being back in this place together was. And that night, we met an old friend and drank and ate lahmacun and ketikoy around where we lived. We both looked at each other at one moment that afternoon with an old familiar glimmer of wonder. With a smile and chuckle, I vividly remember looking at each other and both admitting at the same time, we could live here again. I could live here again. This is a good place. We had both fallen back in love. And we weren't lying. I've been considering returning frequently of late. Matt and I, we've always had a way of cyclically encouraging each other into pursuing dreams others might consider irresponsible or unstable or idealistic or even insane. Get you a friend like that, I guess. That next morning, we slept in late and took a long Uber to the airport to pick up a rental car. Because we were so late, though, they didn't have the BMW that I had booked, and we were charged extra for the honor of driving a base model Ford Escape, which is called the Kuga in Europe. What a tragedy, I know. Please send your condolences down in the comments that I didn't get the car that I wanted to drive. That night, though, we made it to Ankara, which neither of us had ever been to before. And there, nothing of note really happened. We got in late and left. I'm not going to say early, but once we woke up. There was one thing, though. As we were walking back from a late dinner, we witnessed a man's heart getting ripped out of his chest right on the streets. His girlfriend had just cheated on him. And it was real, the anguish that man was feeling. And that's the universal condition of being human, isn't it? That next day, we headed out to Cappadocia, passing by some unexpected salt flats on the way. Having never seen a place like that in the flesh before, I pulled off the motorway so we could walk around the flats for a bit and stretch our legs. Salt flats in Turkey. Everyone's looking at me vlogging. How embarrassing. We had planned to stay mostly at Marriott hotels and Hilton hotels, not out of American pretension, but because we both had a bunch of hotel points that we could get nights for free at. Thankfully, though, in Cappadocia, where we spent the next night, there weren't any available. So we decided to book a little Airbnb cave home, and that was an amazing opportunity. The home was lovely, and the two men that ran it, father and son, were incredibly kind. The son met us in an ancient convertible Oldsmobile and led us down the narrow cobbled streets to the house, and later offered to give us a tour around the national park there, Cappadocia. In the afternoon, it was beautiful. I don't have any words that can really sum up that experience, so if you would, remember with me through this little video montage. Cappadocia.
Ana María Victoria Científica. Y ella, bueno, es cuidadora del sistema público, del sistema público. Y como tiene una consulta en la casa, Estoy así trabajando, me encanta. Y yo.
Wild cats are nicer than house cats,
Yeah.
like Maru.
In Cappadocia, we also went to a cave showing of the whirling dervishes. I probably would have opted out of this experience, but Matt insisted because I usually have a vehemence of touristy activities. But it was a laugh. it was a laugh. And Matt had told this story for a long time of an antique shop ran by an old man that he had visited previous times in Cappadocia. So of course this was on the list of places we had to go back to now that we both had a little bit of money to spend on some wonderful old treasures. After spending a considerable amount of time rummaging through the stock of this old man's shop on the first floor, he offered to take us upstairs to see some of the more historical artifacts. He spoke to us of where they were found and where they were from, and it was wonderful going through and rummaging through those old stockpiles and hearing him talk about this old history. I ended up buying a handwritten page from the Quran that he estimated was from the 1700s. A small carved crucifix from the Byzantine era that was found, according to him, when people were just harvesting a field. 2 bronze little deers that caught my eye, and some grass prayer beads that he estimated were probably 100 years old. And another hand-carved plaque of like a nativity scene, if I remember correctly. I haven't been home in a while, so I can't look at it. Also from the Byzantine era, so at least 600 years old. How crazy is that? Possibly older. I mean, they were still Christians in Anatolia after the Ottoman conquest. But anywho, not being an archaeologist, I have no means of authenticating the exact dates of when these things were made. But I honestly, I feel no reason to doubt this man and his knowledge. He had no air of the typical bazaar man, if you know what I mean. He was just a quiet man that seemed to love history. And for that, being a history lover myself, I related deeply. And perhaps I was tricked. Perhaps it was all a ruse. But if so, I wouldn't take back the $500 or so I spent in exchange for the experience with my friend and this kind old man, going through history together. I make, this is just a side note, like exactly the median annual income for an American. I'm not rich in comparison to my countrymen, then I just prioritize experiences like this and work to enable them in exchange for missing out on other comforts that some other people prioritize. Just asterisks for the haters down there. And I did book like the hotels with points and the flights as well, but even without doing that, it would have been an extra $2,000 or whatever. Anyways, in Cappadocia, this was a packed trip. We were only there for like 40 hours, but we did so many things, and we still slept in. Sending this one out to all you vacation fascists, you wake up early Nazis on holiday. I'm not going to take that bullshit anymore. Sleep in, but still go see things. In Cappadocia, we also went to check out an old network of caves that Christians used to hide out in during the Ottoman conquest. I can typically handle my claustrophobia, but this place was on the verge of too much for me, especially when people would clog up the tiny little tunnels to get photos and whatnot. It did get pretty claustrophobic. You should come to Turkey if you want. I mean, I'm not going to force you. I'd say it's really pretty though, out here. I can see the ferry houses out over here. There's an enormous mountain up here. There's a huge range of mountains just along there. We were driving to some cave houses, and I saw this mountain and a road up this mountain. So I was like, when we come back, we gotta drive up that thing. And we did. The little Kuga did amazing. Did amazing. Wow. Turning up this little mountain, the tarmac turned to stones and we climbed. The front-wheel drive Kuga did valiantly, I must say. I have good insurance on this rental, and I've learned from a decade at least of watching Top Gear that a car's off-road ability is directly inversely proportional to how much you care about it. And I'd been kind of upset about this car for days, still butthurt about the missing out on my BMW. I cared very little for this Kuga, but after struggling its way up to the top and proving its worth to me, I gained more than just a little respect for this aggressively normal car. I've always loved cars with personalities, and in the face of adversity, this little Kuga made a little bit of a friend in me. It laughed with me all the way up to the top. The Kuga's an alright car. I would still never buy one, though it did humble me. Thank you, Ford Kuga. I think I'm going to go somewhere else now. Thanks for joining me at this hotel room in Toronto.
Off a cliff?
Huh?
Not usually off a cliff.
Not while you're in it.
Oh, yeah.
Always drive up the mountain when you see the mountain. drive up it. This right here is where the son of the man who ran that Airbnb took us out on a drive in his old Oldsmobile in Cappadocia. It was really a magical time. I left in all the raw audio. It is rough, it is windy. I didn't have my fancy dead cat wind muff on top of my camera. But I kind of wanted the real audio and not to add stuff, Foley over the top. So remember with me, if you would.
Gideceksin.
Ben küçükken okulda İngilizce hocam döverdi bizi.
Ha.
İngilizceden öğrenmek hiç istiyorum.
Okay. It's far for you. It's far for me. Yani
Arabaları sürmek için bir belge.
Pamukkale falan.
Denizli'de deniz yok.
Ha?
Denizli.
Evet, ya doğru. Ya doğru.
Problem.
Problem, ya.
Niye Denizli?
Öyle mi? Ha. Nasıl iyi kız buluyorsun?
Öyle. Benim
Şans.
erkek arkadaşım hiç yok.
Ha.
Sadece kız arkadaşlarım var.
Ya.
Yok ben kız... Ne oldu abi? Evet doğru.
Okay.
Deneyim. Buradaki insanlar sabah 8, akşam 5 çalışır. Ondan sonra da okey oynar. Kahveye gider. Okey oynamak biliyorsun. Okey oynar.
kahveye gider. Arkadaşlarıyla oturur. Ondan sonra öyle. Başka da bir şey yok.
Bir de öyle.
Burada böyle. Ya da arada sırada gün batımına gelir. Alkol içer.
Eşi Koreli. Elindeymiş. O Tayland. Ha, okey.
İyi insan.
Hello from my backyard. After that lovely afternoon in Cappadocia, we left late and ended up in Konya that night, just as kind of a random stopover. A storm is coming, but ended up finding out that a whole bunch of stuff happened in Konya. I believe it's like Rumi's death place was in Konya. They saw like a temple built to him, and also just like 20 miles outside of town is Çatalhöyük. So we, of course, went and saw that. We had to. We stayed at a really weird Hilton Garden Inn. For whatever reason, there's one in Konya, Turkey.
Now, Matt, if you had to pick one single adjective to describe this pita, what would it be?
Has to be unfeasible.
It's unfeasibly long.
Then we made it down to Antalya that night, after spending all day in Konya, pretty much, without planning. From there, we ended up at Denizli, and it's starting to rain. Ended up in Pamukkale, which was beautiful. I didn't get any video, but I did get quite a good bit of film footage. So I'll show you right now some film photos from Pamukkale. Out here in Pamukkale, saw the some big amphitheater down there. Walking down to where Philip was apparently martyred. Having a little moment, sitting there in the amphitheater. It was very crowded, etc. A friend comes over, gives me a little cigar. I'm like, look up the hills. That would be a better place to spend my time right now. Really quiet, kind of removed from everything, but you still get this grand vista of Turkey. Made me think, I like to call myself a historian, got my degree in history. And maybe the historian's task is to take a step back from the crowd and the noise and view things from afar. Maybe that's why I've always loved that in particular. Maybe I'm just introverted. They probably feed into each other, don't they? Anyways, Turkey. It's good to be back. Very good to be back. Shooting some film. Anywho, don't have my good camera with me, so work iPhone camera. Apologies, I'm a bad vlogger. From there, Matt really wanted to take me to Ephesus, which he had been to a couple years before. And that turned out being very touristy, more touristy than he had remembered it being, but still an interesting sight to see. But what he really wanted to do was go to a town near Ephesus called Syringe. And he wanted to take me to this like winery where he could get a whole bunch of wine. He got some like strawberry flavored wine and peach flavored wine and all kinds of stuff.
You don't like the apple? Interesting.
Apple's the one.
That's so funny.
And I was like, it tasted a lot like medicine. A lot of those did have that kind of bitter. I think the peach might have been my favorite, surprisingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I like the peach, obviously.
Yeah. The peach. I guess not flavored, made from all those different fruits, which was great. From there, I think we stayed that night in Izmir. I literally can't even remember. We must have done. And then made it back to Istanbul. Spent that last day in Istanbul we reunited with one of Matt's old friends. He lived there much longer than I did, so he had more acquaintances to meet. And then from there, we boarded a plane back to Paris, because both he and I, we fly Delta every week for work going around these states, and Delta doesn't service Istanbul, and Air France does, who's a partner with Delta, but this whole thing where we could get there on points, but we couldn't get back on points, so we made it to Turkey on Delta points, and then the return trip we could only get from Paris, so we just used like some chase points to book Turkish Airlines from Istanbul to Paris on the way back, just because that's how it worked. It was still free, with points that we had, but just kind of had to jump through hoops. But that did mean that we, had the excuse to have a long layover, basically a day and a half or whatever in Paris, which, isn't the worst thing ever. Matt and I had gone to France the year before, and we did the south of France. So we started in Geneva, and we took the Alps down to Marseille, and then kind of looped back around through Italy. But we'd never seen Paris, and it was good. You probably need more than a day in Paris, as it turns out. There's a lot to do there, but for a day, I was pleasantly surprised. I think I maybe had like a prejudice against Paris, because people always say that, Parisians are snooty. But I think most people who say that are just kind of Americans being assholes. Anyways, so yeah, we made it to Paris. You'll see a bunch of footage from that. But yeah, that was my return to Turkey. Thanks for following along on this story. I'll show you a bit more footage. But yeah, it was great to return. The 5 years prior, I had been dreaming of Turkey, and I still do frequently. It has a special place in my heart. I developed so much there, both in terms of personal development, religious development. It's where I decided I wanted to pursue history, as in education and perhaps as a career. And the thought of going back and continuing to study history there is still enchanting to me. Turkey is a wonderful place. Again, thank you for following along on this journey. As always, thanks for watching. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's hot.
Pour une personne seule, ça va. Allez, c'est le minimum. 3 pièces, les gars.
That super tall building is. Oh, that feels good. Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Понятно, куда ехать, да?